Yeah, Siddhanth, welcome to another discussion on the World Cup on the new Indian Express platform. So, yeah, it had been a fascinating World Cup so far, and I mean, apart from one or two upsets in the knockout round, which we can say as an upset, or we may not call it an upset at all, but after the group stages, things are leveling out for the bigger teams.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was spot on. Indra, thanks for having me. And it's been a pleasure and a privilege covering the tournament for the New Indian Express. I hope that our audience, your audience, is enjoying our coverage of the tournament. I mean, also grateful for what it's worth to be getting those match tickets, and FIFA is so far at least obliging us with a position in the media tribune to be able to cover the games and bring the news to our readers as it happens. Yes, it has. I mean, it started off in much more dramatic fashion than I guess we would have imagined, and we covered this on the last episode, the last time we chatted, with those sort of surprise wins, particularly for Saudi Arabia. I think for the rest of the countries, it's been interesting in that the gaps between perhaps Asian football and the rest of the world seems to be narrowing. At least, the more developed footballing nations, South Korea not managing to do much at this World Cup in terms of impact games wise, although they also qualified for the round of 16, so that's not a bad result. I would say Japan were really the outstanding Asian team of this tournament, and we were of course hoping that they would be able to progress much further. Unfortunately, losing out in that penalty shootout in quite unfortunate circumstances, I would say, to Croatia, a team that again, they were finalists last time 4 years ago in Russia, um, which I have to say I called from the beginning of the tournament, and this time also, I think against Brazil in the next round, they will present quite a challenge because the two sides play dramatically different football. Brazil beginning to find some of that we've been talking a lot at this World Cup about 1982 and the best team to never have won the World Cup, and the kind of concept of football as an art form and football as fun and football as joy and as an expression of a human being's best endeavor. uh, Brazil starting to kind of discover some of that, which is mostly lacking from all the other big teams at this tournament because everyone else plays to win. And even for the Brazilians, I guess it's important to win the World Cup. It's been 20 years since they've done that. That great team in 2002. Again, a World Cup that was happening in Asia, in Korea and Japan. So I think Brazil fans will be sort of looking forward to that encounter and hoping that they can counter Croatia's very strong midfield and organized way in which they play and how they manage to, despite all the odds, somehow find a result at the end of the day. And Brazil will bring a very different set of sort of factors to the table. A team that is coming together despite its differences. We know things are very difficult in Brazil at the moment. The country is divided politically, right down the middle, and so is the team. So maybe football and that expression of football as that true form of joy can be a starting point to bring Brazil, which is a very important country for not just for Latin America but for the entire world, given how large the country is, given that it is home of the Amazon and so important in sort of geopolitics these days, particularly from our perspective as another fellow BRICS country. So it would be nice actually to see that country coming together, uniting, and if the gold shirt can be that uniting factor, at least as a starting point, so that some of these gaps that are now existing in a more and more polarized world can start to be bridged. Then the whole point of playing this game of football will be sort of underlined and highlighted once again.
So now we are into the last leg of the tournament, and the big matches are about to begin from tomorrow. So how do you see the two big? I mean, all of them are big matches. All four matches are very big, but
Sure. Yeah.
Argentina, yeah, the Argentina versus Netherlands and England versus France.
So, an interesting little bit of news has just come in with regard to the Argentina game, which is that FIFA has appointed a referee for that tournament, Matthew Lahoz. Uh, and according to reports, he's a ref. Uh, it's not my information, but what I've been reading is that he's a referee who allows the game to go on, doesn't get involved too much, doesn't sort of stop play very frequently, likes to have conversations with players rather than to keep blowing the whistle and stopping play, which is something that might work not so well for Argentina and particularly for Lionel Messi, who is trying to make this World Cup his swan song. Finally the nation is coming together behind him, again a nation that is going through tremendous economic hardship, 100% inflation in Argentina at the moment. So people are going through a tough time. It's almost Christmas, but very few people are really celebrating. And for the, I think, relatively few number of Argentine fans who have come here, it will be an occasion, I think, to of course celebrate Messi and to celebrate his team and the young players, like Messi has pointed out on a couple of occasions at this tournament. It'll be the younger players, the rest of the team, that will have to actually come together and put in the work so that the possibility of going on and making it to the final rounds. Of course, we have the prospect of a dream semi-final, which many people are saying should have been the final of the tournament. Of course, except the French, they believe otherwise. But Brazil Argentina semi-final is very much a possibility, and it's something that we'll be looking forward to. And Virgil van Dijk yesterday in the pre-match press conference has issued a warning, and of course also saying the same thing, that Argentina is not just a team that is about Messi. There are 10 other players also on the pitch, and all of those players. I mean, we've seen Lautaro Martinez, for example, having a super tournament. Maybe not getting as many goals as he would like, or as Argentine fans would like, but still creating a lot of havoc. Angel Di Maria has been outstanding as usual. So I think a lot to look forward to from that semi-final. I'll be at the game tomorrow, Argentina versus the Netherlands, and at the press conference after that. So I think there'll be plenty of talking points once the game gets underway, and,
Yes.
and really looking forward to it. I mean, the Dutch have quietly gone through. They have a very experienced manager, and very quietly they've been doing the business, without making too much of a fuss about it. Not conceded too many goals, scored quite a few goals, and just sort of made regular, steady progress through the tournament. So you can expect them to put up a really solid front against the Argentines. A cracker of a game, hopefully. And hopefully we get to see some goals, actually.
Yeah, what about France and England? I mean, people are just concentrating. Are we concentrating too much on Argentina and Netherlands? Because that game also promises to be one of the, I mean, best games of the tournament.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a huge set of people, and particularly, हम लोग because हम लोग Premier League काफी देखते हैं in India में. So there's a lot of focus on, of course, the English players. There are players who we are all familiar with, of course. Guys like Phil Foden, of course, even played in India when they played the Under-17 World Cup, which they won in 2017 back in Kolkata. The final was. It's great to see some of these youngsters, guys like Jude Bellingham, uh, of course, I mean, Jack Grealish, uh, all of these guys, Foden himself. Uh, Again, it's an English team that for a lot of us who carry, the colonial baggage of having been English subjects for however many years, and the kind of absolute villainy that these people did to India, to our country. It is hard to enjoy an English team winning anything. But if there is any English team that that you can say, okay, chalo, for these guys it's okay, it's this football team. And under Gareth Southgate, over the past few years, they have really come together very well, and they present a new brand of football, very different from what I guess old English sides are used to playing. If you score 3 goals, we score 4. That's the sort of approach. But that said, I've been following France very closely for the past, I think, 5 major tournaments. I've watched most of their games, except one where FIFA rejected my ticket. But it's a very, very strong French side. I mean, I don't see too many weaknesses there. Maybe a couple of defensive lapses are possible, but even there, I think a very solid team. And I think Kylian Mbappe has been the standout player of this tournament. I mean, he's already got 5 goals, I think. He's already got 9 goals at World Cups, more than the great Pele, the king himself. Hopefully, he's doing all right. I'm not sure. But at the age of 24, or not yet 24, to have 9 World Cup goals, to your credit, is not a small matter. And around him, you have the likes of Olivier Giroud, Antoine Griezmann, even Rabiot, who has really grown into this French setup. Of course, most likely he would not have featured at all, or except for a bit part, if the guys like Pogba and N'Golo Kante were available. But it is what it is, and he's very much central now to how this team functions. And for me, that's the top game of the quarterfinal stage for sure. And
yeah,
whichever team will have a really good shot at going all the way and winning this tournament.
Are we expecting an open game? I mean, just like basketball, goal to goal, something like that, or will it be very tactical and?
So I think we will see a mix of, these are both teams that know each other very well, no doubt. I mean, I guess at this level, all the teams know each other very well, but the French have also built their team a certain way. If you see how they've been kind of playing through the course of this tournament, this against Australia, for example, when they started, they've had the most number of headed attempts at goal. It's been a sort of game plan. And when you put guys like Luke Shaw and maybe Kylian Trippier and these guys up against someone like Giroud, and sorry, not Giroud, Mbappe, it will be tough. We saw against the team that they played in the round of 16 that Ismaila Sarr, for example, had so much pace, that he was able to, even though, of course, the English won by a fairly comfortable margin in the end, but they were able to trouble, at least in the first half, the English defense. And if you give France those kind of chances, like Mbappe has shown, you give him space and you give him time to take a couple of touches anywhere near the box, you're not recovering from that kind of scenario. So it may not be an open and free-flowing game, in the most sort of like joyous sense of it. But I do think we will get goals. I don't see it going to a 0-0 kind of extra time penalty shootout, that kind of situation. Yeah. I think both sides have the attacking ability as well as the ability to make mistakes at the back. Yes. So a combination of both those things will lead to hopefully some goals. Yeah.
Yeah. Then one of the talking points of this World Cup would be Portugal, and Portugal dropping Ronaldo. So I mean, they have done quite well after dropping him. But how do you see the change in the Portugal setup, and how will it? I mean, going forward, will it augur well for the team?
I mean, like you pointed out, Indra, I think in the last round we saw that it has to be said they didn't have the toughest of opposition to face, no doubt. The Swiss perhaps understood or realized that they have come as far in the tournament as they hoped to. So in that sense, they had achieved their goals, ticked their boxes, and said, okay, we see how it goes now. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful and all that. It's great to play a World Cup round of 16. It's a huge achievement for anyone. And I think the Swiss also understood that. Did we expect them to score 6? Perhaps not. But yeah, it's really unfortunate the way Cristiano Ronaldo's career has kind of devolved and fallen off the rails, because no matter what we might think of him as a person or at a personal level, he's had an outstanding career
Yeah,
as
right.
a professional,
That's true.
as a football player. He's loved all over the world and admired all over the world. My young nephew, for example, has a poster of him up in his room, despite all of my opposition to it. अच्छा मेरा पोस्टर लगा ले भाई, बट नहीं उसको क्रिस्टियानो का लगाना है पोस्टर, तो उसके कमरे में क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो का पोस्टर है. At the age of 37, 38, he's an inspiration to those of us who are in that stage of our lives and still trying to play football at whatever level we are, whether it's recreational or semi-serious or whatever it might be. So it's really sad to see the kind of tantrumy, dramatic way in which all of this is ending. And if it is Portugal's last game at this tournament, or whether they progress and Ronaldo doesn't play a part in it,
That would be
it would be kind of a shame, unfortunately. That said, for the team, I think the whole story is coming together really well, because they have figured out that, okay, maybe we can do it without this guy. And maybe we can do it, maybe not with him, but despite him. Whether it's the drama that he brought to the table. I mean, in the before the first game, the Portugal coach was asked about whether what was happening at Manchester United would affect the Portugal camp. Those are the kind of things that a national coach has to also deal with. So overall, I think at this point, maybe Ronaldo is the factor that is motivating this Portugal team to go a step further. And they have a whole host of super talented players. They've always have some of the hardest working and like proper working class footballers who just come from nowhere and just work and then go on to play at some of the best clubs in the world and achieve great things in the sport. 2016 we were in France, where a lot of the working population actually comes from Portugal. People who do skilled labor, manual labor. A lot of them are actually Portuguese, and it was a huge celebration there when they went on and won the Euros, not in perhaps very spectacular fashion, but again getting the job done, doing the work, putting in the work, putting in the hours, putting in the effort, and making it happen. So it's not a side you can dismiss easily at all. And yeah, we'll see how that one goes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so would you like to pick any team, or just want to enjoy the game and then we'll see who are the semi-finalists and the finalists?
I mean, yeah, of course we will. I mean, but my team is to pick from the start. Sir, वो तो मतलब उसमें तो कोई doubt ही नहीं है. France is my team from the start of the tournament, and I think to me they are still looking at the most balanced side in this tournament. Like I said, with the player for me who has really stood out, Kylian Mbappe. Of course, this is a has to be said again and again that football is a complete team sport. One player doesn't win games. It doesn't work like that. The whole team has to come together to make it happen. So, yeah, overall to me, looking like the most balanced side and with the most amount of experience as well in Didier Deschamps. He's won it as a player, as a coach. It's a group that knows each other really, really well, and you get that sense that yeah, I suppose many teams are, and so all successful teams have to be united and strong together. But you get the sense from this French team that they take it beyond the cliche. They really feel for one another. I mean, like we saw Antoine Griezmann, for example, expressing his pure love for Deschamps as a coach and as a person, and I think, and then the coach after that coming out and saying that, okay, maybe I won't go that far as to say I love all these guys, but I do love them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have them in my team. I wouldn't call up a player that I don't like. So that's the kind of approach that there is. Giroud, for example, now top scorer ahead of Thierry Henry for France, ahead of the likes of Michel Platini, Karim Benzema, I mean, Zinedine Zidane. Like it's a hell of a list to be on top of. And that kind of utility player, a player who thinks about the team first and always, and not about his personal milestones or his personal goals. He went through the entire 2018 World Cup in Russia without scoring a single goal, and yet was so instrumental in how France performed in that tournament. And he will continue to be so. Yeah, they have, to me, yeah, undoubtedly, this is their World Cup to lose.
Thank you. Thank you for your expert opinion on the next stage.
But thanks for having me, and hopefully we'll chat again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.